Artificial selection, a storyboard. The objective here is for you to create a model of artificial selection by making a storyboard that shows the process of selective breeding. Your assignment is to draw a storyboard with diagrams that show how a desired trait is used in selective breeding. You're going to make one slide containing a photo of your storyboard and a short description of that storyboard. Here's an example of one that Ms. Ripley made. I started with a group of starfish with variation. I selected for the roundest bodies and let them breed and make offspring. At the end of 4 generations, I had some round starfish with no arms. So that's an example of a completed storyboard slide. Since you're going to be drawing, you have 3 options. You can use computer drawing tools, computer images. You can draw your own simplified shapes or diagrams, or you can draw realistic images. The storyboard itself is basically going to consist of 4 quadrants. And you can make that on a computer, or you can make it by folding a piece of paper into 4 squares like this. Here's what Ms. Ripley's paper looked like. How she got started was she decided on what her target organism was going to look like. In this case, she decided what creature she wanted to make by selective breeding, and we're going to call that her target organism. And Miss Ripley wanted to make a round starfish. She figured out what her starting organism should look like, in this case, a starfish. So what she did in box 1 is she drew the starting organisms and a set of other organisms that were similar to it. Notice they all don't look exactly alike. We're assuming they're the same species, and those are all this is variation within that species. So these are all the same kind of starfish, but they're not exactly alike. We're calling that variation. She selected 2 organisms that have the traits similar to her target organism. In this case, she selected for the roundest starfish from this group. She then drew her 2 organisms up here at the top of box 2. We're going to imagine now that these are the parents of the next set of offspring. Remember, offspring are the children that are made by the parents. She then drew some offspring that looked similar to the parents but had some variation. She then repeated the process from before. She selected 2 organisms that looked the most similar to the target organism. She drew them at the top of box 3, and then she again selected for the roundest starfish in this group over here. In box 3, she drew some offspring who look like the parents, but they still have some variation. In box 4, over here, she repeated the process one more time, but this time she made sure that some of the offspring would look like her target organism. In this example, Ms. Ripley created starfish, or modeled how you could create starfish that were like circles through a process of artificial selection. This drawing over here essentially is a finished storyboard. She took a picture of this and inserted it on the slide template, and then she wrote a few sentences that described her selection story. Here's an example of that slide again. I started with a group of starfish with variation. I selected for starfish with the roundest bodies and let them breed to make offspring. At the end of 4 generations, I had some round starfish with no arms. So a couple of hints to make this a little easier for you. I would ask myself, what can I draw? I know, for example, I can draw these little faces, so my starting organism looked like this. Remember, the goal of this is modeling a process of artificial selection, AS, so diagrams are okay here. The next thing I would suggest is that you practice on a scrap paper before you commit to drawing your organisms and trying to figure out what trait would be fun to select for. So for example, here's an example. Can you guess what I selected for here? I was going to imagining selecting, here's my starting organisms, here's my target organism. I'm going to select for bigger eyes in this case. Everything else stays the same in this story. It's just the eyes that are being selected for. I'm focusing on the trait of eyes. What am I selecting for here? You could probably guess that I'm selecting for larger ears. Again, all the other traits you'll notice are kind of the same. I'm just focusing on selecting for larger ears to make my diagram super clear. And then again, this is just my sketch. And down here, you can imagine what I'm selecting for here. I'm selecting for sharper teeth. So again, these drawings are just sketches to get me thinking and making it so when I finally commit to my storyboard, I've got some ideas about what direction I'm going in and what I can draw easily. When you get done, don't forget you want to insert the photo into a slide using the insert menu, and you can pull it off of the drive if you can put it there, or you can take a picture of it directly with the camera. And at the end, you will submit your slide on Google Classroom. I hope this helped. Have fun with it